And yes, welcome into the studio here at Woodbine Mohawk Park. Greg Blanchard alongside Randy Waples. As Chad Rosema said, we've got an excellent looking 10-race program tonight. A wide variety of, I think, really exciting, intriguing races to look forward to tonight. A trio of OSS grassroots divisions for 2-year-old colt and gelding trotters. Of course, we got that Dreammaker final. That's going to be a good tilt later on. And we're going to see Chantilly taking on the best older pacing mares on the circuit as well in a prep race for some big events for her to come down the road. So we are excited about this program tonight, Randy. We've got great weather to go along with it as well. It's been a few weeks since you and I were at the desk together. Lots happened in the horse racing world since then.
Yeah, well, you were down. You were down in New Jersey for the Hambo, right?
I was, yeah. The Hamiltonian.
Hey, before we go any
Meadowlands
further,
Pace.
though, just so that you know, because you kind of like led these things in here, Chad, the big bopper Rosema, said that he would sing Chantilly back to the winner's circle tonight. There you go.
Yeah, we were belting that out beforehand tonight. Yeah, when we see her name, we get excited about it as well. So
tell me about Hambo.
Hambo was good, really good this year. The weather was a big story. Most years you go down there, it's that stifling heat and humidity, and it makes it almost borderline uncomfortable. This year, it was really a perfect, very pleasant day, and I think that translated to a great crowd. And of course, a phenomenal program top to bottom, like every year. So
I heard you mention a couple of times you couldn't have ordered weather better.
You could not. Absolutely perfect. So that's ideally what you like to see on a day like that,
especially after last year.
Yeah,
had a little precipitation last year.
But I mean, in a weird way, we talked about that the sky's opening up just before the Hamiltonian. True. and racing in that, and then the aftermath kind of added to it. In my opinion, I think Carl winning when the weather was like it was at that point. I think it's going to go down in the annals of Hamiltonian history as one of the greats.
Well, I'll tell you, I never seen a winner's circle last year at the Hamiltonian where everybody was absolutely soaking wet and yet having the time of their life.
Smiling for me.
Everybody.
Yeah,
it was
for
great.
Sure. So this year, August Vonstead, the beat goes on for him, right?
My goodness.
Master horseman.
Yeah.
And, had Nordic Catcher just primed and ready and peaking at the right time, and gets his third Hambo win.
Unbelievable, eh? He just, like you said, he's a master at his game.
Superstars dotted the program that day, and among them, Mickey and Minnie, one of the top 3-year-old pacing fillies. As we are here now into early August, still awaiting that really highly anticipated matchup between her and Chantilly, that first matchup whenever that comes. And we see Chantilly back in action tonight. We're going to focus on that a little bit later, but just great to see a champion like this back tonight, even though it's in an overnight race.
It is, but speaking of champions there, give me what your thoughts are on Sylvia Hanover this year. Boy, she's kind of come out of the gate with fire in the eyes.
Incredible. She's just been able to turn the tables on Twinbee Joe Fresh
it's like
from last year. Exactly. And so, and I guess the question is has Twinbee Joe Fresh tailed off slightly? As it's Sylvia Hanover getting so good, or a combination maybe of both?
I think the second part.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that Twinbee Joe Fresh hasn't lost a step. I just think that the other mare has gained a step this year. She had the advantage, obviously, when they were younger. For a couple of years, she was the dominant one, and Joe Fresh kind of had to pick up the pieces. Last year, it was completely flipped. Now this year, I don't know. I mean, it's lots of time for it to go back to the way that it was, but right now, at this point, Sylvia Hanover looks like amazing to me out there.
Yeah, incredible how good she has come back this year. Great for the sport, right? That's one of the big rivalries, and can't wait to see more of it. And we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we've got the Breeders' Crown here this year, and these are some of the matchups that we are absolutely anticipating that we're going to see, and I'm pretty excited for too. So, but let's get to Chantilly a little bit later. Let's dive into tonight's race program. Kind of something for everybody. We mentioned we've got 3 OSS grassroots divisions, 2-year-old colt and gelding trotters. A really nice looking group in Ontario this year. And before we get to that, though, of course, we want to look back to last evening and look at some of the trends, maybe some of the things to keep in mind as we look ahead ahead to tonight's card.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of races, Greg, looks like we had some movement. The first race, the winner was sitting fourth at the half and still sitting fourth at the 3/4. The third races 3 and 4, same thing, movement from the back, and then we just went 5 races right in a row where you seemed like you had to be up on top. They were all fairly short fields, though, no full ones. One field of 9, and then in the last race, field of 9, and back to 5th at the half, 6th at the 3/4. So big thing that I find with this, Greg, is just the simple fact that this track is incredibly fast right now, and it's hard to catch speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they don't
Yep.
slow down, it's hard to catch them.
Yep. I I look back to the and I don't know if you were competing in the race that year or not. The Molson Pace at the time, the year state treasurer made the bobble at the start and came back to win.
That was the Greek run him off his feet.
I know you didn't drive him, but I thought maybe you were in the race.
I was the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, a great effort from him to come all the way back and win that year. But I think what played into it was the track was just a second or two. It was a little bit dull that night compared to what it had been prior to that. And you're right. I think that's what allowed him to come all the way back and win.
Same kind of
Another
what we
year
seen
would have been
with
tough.
TCI that night with the Mohawk
Right.
Million. The weather wasn't exactly great, and it kind of more or less brought him back into the race, but still a great effort, though.
All right, speaking of a TCI, maybe a future TCI on the program tonight because we've got a lot of good-looking young male trotters competing tonight in those 3 OSS grassroots divisions. Full field of 10. In the opening contest, where Maize and Blue for Kyle Fellows is the 5-2 morning line choice. But we're going to take a look a little further outside on the gate to Bo Knight from the Blake McIntosh barn, a colt that you're going to take us back to a qualifying effort where he caught your eye.
Yeah, so let's take a stroll all the way back to June 7th, and this is going to be his very first start behind the gate. He's going to end up finishing second in here. He's going to win the next week. 28-1, mile and 58-4. Horse that he beat, another great mass in that one. Wolverine Legend in that one. This one, he's going to finish second in here, but the horse that beats him, Wolfpack Crown, and the horse that finished third, you might know him. His name, In the Black. And that's the colt that really started this year out for Jeff Williams and Jody, winning the golds. And look at this guy. He tracks him, and look at the body language on James. He's going by, he's not overly big or anything like that, but I love the way that he moves. And then he kind of tailed off. Everything sort of tailed off. So both the qualifiers were very, very good. He makes a break in the Tompkins gears, comes back with another good qualifier where he finished the second in there. And then, his last start at Grand River in a grassroots, I thought they more or less just kind of tested the waters, make sure that everything's good. He ends up finishing fourth in there, only trots a mile and 2-2, but it's what he was doing before. Now he comes back here to a big track, picks up James McDonald again. I'm going to take a chance with him in here. I got him down as worth a look. Don't see him going off as any big price or anything like that, you know what I mean? But I think we can get a little bit of value on him.
Yeah, strong pedigree on this one. $65,000 yearling purchase out of London. And coming back on 8 days now, getting back on a regular rotation finally, a couple of starts consecutively. So I agree. I think you could see a big step forward from him here tonight. That's the opening division race number 1. And it's going to start as well that popular early pick 5, $75,000 guaranteed pool in there as well.
Interesting too about race number 1, Yacht Club. He's going to be using the hobbles for the first time in here tonight. Maize and Blue. This is going to be his third time with the hobbles on. Stonebridge Mac. This is going to be his second time coming off the qualifiers with a set of hobbles on. So what I'm saying is, I think I would be in this race, I would be looking at the ones that you like that stay flat. Because there's a good chance that maybe some of these other ones might make a bobble.
Yep, good point. One that stayed flat and was a winner at Grand River last time. Raucous, good post to work with. 9-2 early on in the wagering there. The race number 2, let's dive into that. Now we're switching gears here. 2-year-old Pacers this time around, and 2-year-old filly Pacers, field of 8 in this non-winners of 1 event. Sangria Summer, a lukewarm favorite. at 3-1, and we'll be making just the second start here for trainer Kevin Ben. What did you make of the debut?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then this breeding too. I mean, Captain Treacherous out of a shadow play mare. There's just so much that I like about Sangria Summer. Never had Sangria. Can you say the same, Gregory?
I have. Oh, I've had
You've had
plenty of sangria.
Yeah?
Yeah.
My father
It's a
said he got
great
into a
summer
real
drink.
bad situation one time with Calvin Harrison and a bottle of sangria. Play something sweet.
I'd love to hear that, but not
Play
here on
something
air.
sweet. This one, I got this one in for second for Paul Cameron and Jody. Now, Red Beach won. Going to get the Murphy blind taken off this one. I went all in on this one in her last start because I absolutely loved the locked in the start before, but just didn't seem to have quite the same kind of pop last week that she did. And I see that Jody is now, he's going to move away. He's going to go to stay with Play Something Sweet. Louis Waugh picking up Red Beach 1, but Sangria Summer, Kevin Ben, and Trevor Henry. James qualified this one here. The original qualifier at KD where Kevin went with her. Then James qualified this one back. She had a nice second. And then I thought that this was a really nice effort by Trevor Henry in here. He gets her to the outside here. And, she's not doing it any flashy or anything, but she is a Captain Treacherous. Sometimes you got to ask them a little bit more. I thought it was still a good effort. And I like the ones that she's in against here tonight. There's a couple of good ones, but I think that she can come up with a big effort. 54 last quarter and 27 and change in that last one. Big thing is there's two horses on this that she finished fifth to in that last start, Greg, and they're both on my watch list. One CJ Desby, the other Pawnal Baby Bobby.
Bobby?
Yeah,
Yep.
that one too. So I think that she's been racing in some really, really nice company, and I think that this is maybe a little easier bunch. So Sangria Summer, even from the outside, looking for a price with this one as well. I'm going to take a chance with her.
Kevin Ben, that's a name we don't see as much here on this circuit, just from time to time, especially in the summertime when the youngsters are out. But when you see his name, you take notice.
Oh, yeah. I used to drive a bit for him, too. Really, really sharp kind of a guy, And unfortunately for him, I mean, unless things have changed, his base of operation was down the Belleville way.
Right.
So when Woodbine got closed and Greenwood got closed, they just keep shuttling them further and further out. So no, we don't get to see him as much. But you're right. When he does show up, he always has really, really good horses.
Quality.
He
always
does.
Quality.
Always huge quality.
Let's switch back to race number 4. Switch gears again, back on the trot here for the second of those OSS grassroots divisions. There is a scratch in there of the number 9, Gotta Be Quick. So it's going to bring us down to a field of 9 here. Hot Country for trainer Gallucci at the Miller Farms. They're hoping for a big night at the office, and this one has looked pretty good so far in his young career.
He has. So the first start after the grassroots, July the 22nd here, he finished 4th, last quarter 27-4, overall mile of 56, and I put him down as a +2. I thought he needed 2 more starts into him. So now he goes to Grand River, and which replay are we showing? The July 22nd. Okay, so this is the race where he raced. I thought it was a good one, 27-4 on the end of it, and this is the race afterwards. I said, I'm going to put him down as a +2. I think if he had 2 more starts under his belt, he would be that much better. And then he takes off to Grand River and comes up with a real nice effort where he was used multiple times in that effort to finish second in there. So I think the +2 is over. I think that the last week was the 2 starts that he needed to get, tightened up and ready to go. And now he comes back in here, middle of the gate, picks up McDonald. I'm going to put him up on top. I like him in here. I like mass deployment too, but the one that kind of scares me a little bit, Greg, is this 6-horse Bob from Hockey, because he did show a real nice qualifier on his bottom line. You can see Ricky went with him himself, and then 2 breaks in a row. And then in that last qualifier, the pants come on, and again, he looked pretty good. Now he's going to get the middle of the gate with the pants on. He could cause a little bit of a stir in here as well. But Hot Country right beside him is next door neighbors, the way I'm going to go.
Yeah, I remember being here for the baby races in early June and talking to Rick Zeron on that occasion, and this was one he was quite high on. So obviously there's still some work to do with him, and hopefully that equipment change has got him back on the right track. I think he expressed at that time this is one with a lot of talent, so you wouldn't be surprised to see him win. I'm in agreement with you, Hawk Country. I mean that first race was pretty good when you consider you just happened to hook a really good field, right? 55-2, 27-3 last quarter
Raucous.
in your first start. So it's hard to trot by rivals in that kind of a mile.
It is, yeah. He's raced some really, really tough horses. And it's just, the barn that he comes out of, at some point he's going to start showing up in the winner's circle. And hopefully we might be able to catch him tonight, because the first time he really shows something, you're never going to get a price on him then.
So we're going to look next at some hard-hitting condition types. Race number 5, which is the anchor leg of the early pick 5 wager, and some high-quality pacing mares here. It looks like a pretty wide-open affair, in my opinion. Blew Me a Kiss is the morning line choice at 3-1, and you can tell by the morning line that it's a very competitive field in here. You're going to take a look back to August 1st on this one, finishing 5th, and try and dissect that race and tell us something that could be a positive coming into tonight.
Well, she'd missed some time, right? July the 11th was a start before where she finished 3rd, and she absolutely flew home that night. 26 flat on the end of it for J-Mac. And then in this race, missed a bit of time. Going to race August the 1st from July the 11th, you know what I mean? So not quite that rotation that you want to see, but I still thought it was a good effort that she ends up putting up in here. James isn't going to do a whole lot with her. She's 3 out at the 3/4 pole, 4.5 out at the head of the lane, and she finishes 4.5 out last quarter, 26-3. I think she needed this race. At this point, James isn't doing any serious chasing or anything. He's just still sitting there with the whip over his right shoulder. Now he brings the sword up, gives her a little tap. She doesn't really do anything here. She doesn't go flying forward, but she certainly isn't losing much ground either. So I think that, she was in a spot where she'd missed a little bit of time, and I think that James did right by her. Now, interesting that he is going to move away from Blew Me a Kiss and head to Coco Jojo. I myself look at that more of a barn kind of a move. Ralphie's great to drive for, Nicky Boyd. This filly's racing really good, but he's a small stable. Beaton's a lot bigger stable. If this is the reason why James is going to Beaton, which would be the way that I would probably do it as well, I think that's what he's doing here. I think that he's giving up a live drive with Blew Me a Kiss and going with a horse that he thinks could be live in here. So Dougie McNair picking up Blew Me a Kiss. I mean, if you're not going to get James, Louis, Dougie's, definitely right there as well. And in some cases, I think Dougie would be the top choice in a lot of horses because he just has a different style of racing. It's interesting, Greg, the other night there, Chris Jr. worked with me, and I asked him about Dougie. I said, give me some 4-1-1 on McNair. And he basically said it to me that Dougie's so talented, he doesn't even think Dougie knows how talented he is. And it's the truth. Yeah. It really, truly is, So anytime that you get a McNair, you get Dougie up on a horse that I don't even know if he's driven her in the past, but he hasn't driven her in a while, I think that it's a really, really good fit because he can sure make things happen.
There's so many talented drivers. I'll ask you this quickly. And then you see when a guy's sort of the kingpin, he's sort of top dog for a few years in a row, like James McDonald, for example. What's the separator? Because, these guys are all so talented. What's that last ingredient that gives him the edge, at least at this point in time?
Confidence, I would say. I think we've seen the same thing with Doug Brown. When, Doug win 8 or 9 O'Briens in a row, he was confident every race, not, picking nights. To be confident every time that he set foot on the track, he knew he could win the race. And I think that's what we're seeing with James, because the thing that's really spooky about James is it's not just the best ones. Not only does he get really good drives, and he should, because he gets the job done with very minimal use of the horse. You know what I mean? He really goes out of his way, but he also gets the job done constantly with horses that haven't won in a very long time, or if not at all. But he is able to find them that trip. I think he's very light-handed. I think he's very patient. And I think that when he's sitting down in the hole the horses don't even know that they're in a race, and when he's ready to spring them, they're ready.
Yeah, for sure. Having said that, I would say, in my opinion, maybe the most depth I've ever seen in the driver colony here. You know, 1 through 10. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lot of talent.
listen, all
right
I
up
know,
there.
it was some tough when I broke in.
Yeah, true.
You know, you had
True.
Brown Condren, Bill Gale, Dave Wall. You know, you had a pretty good raft of guys back then
true.
too. You know what I mean? So it's always been a tough. You know, years ago you had Wellwood, my dad, Fagan.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are all, you know, big time guys. But I just find that right now he's confident every race. Every time he steps foot on the track, he thinks he can win. You know, it kind of brings me back to the very first tournament that Tiger Woods played, and it was another veteran golfer that interviewed him, and Tiger basically said, "I'm here to win." And the veteran golfer says, "You're going to learn." Well, he learned all right. He learned how to win.
That's
you know,
right.
every golf tournament, like he said, he goes, "Why would you show up if you're not looking
That's
to
right.
win?" You know,
I
and
think it
that's
was
what
Curtis
I think
Strange,
confidence.
wasn't it?
I think
it
you're
was,
right.
but
You know, I think you're
anyway.
right. And that has to be the same thing that we've seen with John Campbell all those years. You know, just that ultimate confidence. He never had to say it.
No.
But he just felt it.
Little bit
you
of
know?
swagger,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, a little bit of swagger.
All right, let's continue on. We've got to roll through these last few here, Randy. Let's go to race number 6. This is a good-looking tilt. Some young 2-year-olds, just an overnight event, but some that have already caught attention in their young career, including TF High Voltage. And all bets off, just a $6,000 purchase out of the London sale. Looks like, you know, the connections here might have found a diamond in the rough.
I think they got two. They got 2 diamonds in the rough, these people. They got another 2-year-old that they bought off. They bought or bought part of them off of Murray Breather. So same connections, same horses. Yep. And I agree with you. This guy, you know, looking pretty good. Only the couple of starts to go by. I'm going to go with Call Sign Rooster in here. I mean, there's just too much to like. We've seen Webbies send horses out here before. They always seem like they want to be raced. You know what I mean? And they're going into Moore's Barn. This is a cattle wash out of a Better's Delight mare, $70,000 Harrisburg purchase. I mean, you know, I really, and he's been winning. He's 4 for 4. So let's take a look at TH High Voltage though, because the Call Sign Rooster going to be my top pick in here, but TH High Voltage would have been my top pick in here, but he's missed a little bit of time. Last race was, or this race that we're showing, July the 14th. So, you know, 3 weeks, let's say. But nice effort here by Travis Cullen. And like I say, Jason Ackroyd's got himself a couple of real nice 2-year-old pacing colts this year right now. Not Bolts. He raced the other one the other night. He's a cheddar colt. James absolutely loves him.
Yeah.
And then this guy here, look at the high stepping on this guy on the end of it too. Almost looks like a trotter the way that he's throwing those front legs out there, but always coming forward. So not going to put him up on top. I love the way that he raced, but he's missed a little bit of time. Didn't look like to me that even on the run out that he was, you know, like a win candidate, you know what I mean? Race good. So I'm going to throw him in for third, but I really did think that, you know, people should see that one because it was a good effort. Illicit Behavior, I threw this guy in for second, but Call Sign Rooster, the way that I'm going to go.
Truro Invader, 4 for 4 down there. Caught a couple of his races watching on simulcast, and he looked good. Yeah, he looked very good. You know, those 57, 58 miles, good efforts, winning pretty handily as well. And he's got a stablemate that's joined him here as well, Artillery Sealster. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. So a couple of new faces here to Ontario moving into the Dr. Ian Moore stable. Let's turn ahead next to race number 8. We're going to fast forward, and that's the Dream Maker Final. And boy, some big hitters in here. These are 2-year-olds that, as the season wears on, we're likely going to see prominently in Grand Circuit races. And Sweet Lovin' Lou, boy, has he turned head so far.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that this is the best field. It might be. But I'm not going to say that. But I will say one thing. It's the most competitive Dream Maker that I've seen in quite a while. You can make a case for easily five horses out of the 8 that's in here, and probably throw a couple of other ones in there too. Really evenly matched group here. My top pick is going to be Sweet Lovin' Lou. I mean, you know, beside his name, I just got Huge wrote, and it's just the way that he's been. But we're going to show 2 replays, Greg. We're going to show July 25th, Sweet Lovin' Lou, where he was a winner, Dad finished third in there. And then August the 1st, Dad is going to come back, and Sweet Lovin' Lou's going to have that week off. So, Dad, we're going to show both of these horses. So this is Sweet Lovin' Lou, James McDonald with this guy. And it's the way that he's doing it, Greg. I mean, you know, first over for a bit, you know, but a big move. And then just the separation that happens in between the rest of these horses, you know. And I mean, look at the way James, you know, another one just looks like he's getting ready to pop a soda and have it on the way down the lane, you know, nobody even close. And again, it's the body language on the driver and the horse. It just looked like to me, even though they just went in 51 flat, it just looked like it was a mile in 2:30 or something, you know?
Yeah, it set up well, but then he took what the race gave him and won effortlessly. So yeah, really showing that he could be something a little bit on the special side early
Agreed.
on. Great to see Dad bounce back. He was the victim of tough fractions in that race. He did hold on for third. Totally different trip scenario here last time, and a nice rebound effort.
100%, Greg. You know what I mean? This is the best trip I've seen him go, and he's winning front, but I can't say is that I ever liked him in front. Now, this is completely different. You know, he's bringing a whole new aspect of it, and that's the other thing, too, is that we know he can do it the other way, too, if he so elects to choose to do it that way. So I think that Dad and Sweet Lovin' Lou are coming in here real good. But like I said, Stonebridge Bluff, I think that this horse is also racing really, really good for Carl Jamieson and Travis Cullen. And Stingray Dale, I think that this horse could come up with a big, big effort for Myrner and Travis Henry in here. You know, I don't know if Jody was given the choice or not, but he elects to go to Beachside Lindy from the Carl barn. But I guess maybe that would be more to do with the fact that he owns part of Beachside Lindy. Because to me, the power of the Jamieson two horses is this one horse, Stonebridge Bluff.
So that's $79,000 on the line in the Dreammaker final, and good matchup we anticipate in that one. Two more to have a look at here on the 10-race program tonight. Ninth race, another group of 2-year-old Colden Geldings at the non-winners of one level to start the late double. And the aforementioned Artillery Sealster will be in the field here. Another Wayne Webby-owned colt that shipped from Truro into the Dr. Ian Moore stable. He's 3 for 4 this season, his only loss coming when making a break in stride. Major Money, though, one that you want to focus in on here. Another from that outstanding crop of Cattle Wash, who appears to be getting better and showing plenty of talent.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about that one, too. So this guy, 2 qualifiers, never been in front. Then his nice first easy start, Louis Watt drives him at 22-1. Finishes 4th, never done anything serious in there. His next start, James is on him, takes a little bit of a drop in the odds, moves to the outside around the last turn, into grassroots, finishes 5th, but shows a little bit more. Now let's take a look at this one. This is the next one. He's going to suffer a little bit of interference at the half, this guy, but now down on the inside, sitting 3rd right here for James McDonald, and each week, to me, he just shows a little bit more and a little bit more in here. So let's take a look at this guy. He's going to have to, you know, probably 4 or 5 lengths to make up on this horse up in front, and he starts moving forward. He's not going to get to him, but he is going to look a little bit deeper in here each time. Look at the separation that he's putting behind the ones behind him. He isn't going to be able to quite reach him, but boy, oh boy, he throws a little bit of a scare into Travis, only getting beat a neck in that one. They got him charted as a half a length. Again, big improvement, Greg. Now we're back in on a good rotation, you know, August the 1st to today. So I think that we're looking at a big effort, has the rail to work with in here. So Major Money, going to put him up on top.
Yeah, and some of those newer sires to the province. Cattle Wash well represented in there. Bulldog Hanover, 3 sons from that one, including one from the Jack Darling stable, Barracuda Hanover. It was a high-priced yearling purchase, and better in his last couple of starts, I think, maybe going in the right direction. Exactly correct. Just wanted a quick thought on him. A Better's Delight, who makes the 2nd start for Team Christoforou. I thought that was a sneaky good debut from this one.
Yeah, I got him in for 4th because we're getting the old guy back again there. James is going to book off of this one there, so we're getting Chris Jr. back on him. No, I'm just kidding. I do have him in for 4th, but he made my watch list as well. I thought he raced really, really good for James that first start, and the big thing with getting getting Chris back is that you're going to get raced, but it's not going to be overdone. You know what I mean? So I think you're going to have to fit him in that way. Only second lifetime start for this guy. But Lions, Gustavo Fring. This is another one that I think is getting really, really good for trainer Tony Beaton.
And let's go to the 10th and final now and have a look at that one, the Jackpot High Five finale tonight. We can tell you Barb Leahy going to get a shoeing change up front from steel to aluminum, and see if that one can produce a better result. Just has had a little too far to come in those recent starts. You want to take a look again at the carryover. Reminding you that on the last race here tomorrow night, it's going to be a mandatory payout. So we'll see how things unfold tonight, and you could be playing into a massive jackpot wager here tomorrow evening. But let's look at this 10th, a nice field of 9 to wrap things up. You want to have a look at another Murray Breather pupil. Her name is Something in Blue.
Yeah, been racing a lot, been coming out of there a lot. Not the greatest post positions to work with. Her last two, she had an 8 and a 9. Comes from the 6 hole tonight, which is, usually on our surface, that's the post position that you want the most, is the 6 hole. So she's in a good spot. Picking up James. I guess I'm looking at James maybe winning the late pick 3, because I got him down to win the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th in this race. But let's take a look at her last replay. I thought it was a good one. Again, she comes out of there, takes a bit of a park in 26 and 3 from the 8 hole, and going to end up finishing second in here with the last quarter of 27 and a bit in behind Simply the Best, who a lot of us liked Simply the Best that night. The race before that, Macapello Seelster, who's also racing quite well, and I think she might have won at Dresden or Grand River in a grassroots. Not that.
Dresden.
Yeah,
this past Monday.
So she's on a good roll. Millie Mae Hanover, racing very good. So, Chantilly, she's been racing against some pretty nice horses, this Something Blue, and she's going to explode in here for James McDonald, just sitting right up on his on the back to finish second in here. So I thought it was a really, really good effort for her on a 10-day rotation. Now she's going to come back more or less on the same kind of a rotation, but with a much better post position to work with. And I think maybe even too, just a little bit easier bunch. Now there are a couple in here that I do like. I like nice buns, but right now it just seems like I can't catch her in the winner's circle. She races good once in a while when I use her, but Sarah B. Delight, I thought she was a real good locked in her last, but she hasn't, or in her second last, but she hasn't raced since July the 17th, so she might need one too. And then Barb Leahy picking up that shoe change. She's not that far away from winning, and then now we're going to take the steel off and put the Nikes up on front, so that could be an interesting shoeing change.
Yeah, you have to be willing to just turn the page on the last race. The result wasn't there, but I think it was a combination of a trip scenario and maybe necessitating this change tonight. Going back to Something in Blue, the last 3 starts has been the first leader in the race, hasn't translated to a win, but it's tactical speed that's a good weapon to have. Do you go right back to that tactic tonight, in your opinion, or try and change it up a bit?
She doesn't have a lot of speed coming from the outside of her. So if you do come out of there, there's probably a good chance that you're going to be the last one to make front. So if there's not a remove, you're stuck in front. Not really looking for that. My big thing is that I do think that Nice Buns could whack him a mile if she came out of there. So if I'm James, I'm probably looking to see what JD's going to do. If he comes out of there, then I probably go with him. If he goes the other way, there's a pretty good chance I might race her from off as well, because I think she's equally dangerous both ways.
All right. Well, let's go back now to race number 3. Of course, we have to talk about that filly and mare Preferred tonight. A great race in its own right, but then you throw Chantilly into the mix, and boy, does that add a different wrinkle to things. Unusual to see a 3-year-old filly at this point in the season, right in the heart of stakes season, in a race like this. But it's the way the schedule's unfolded, the way her season has unfolded so far, and connections wanting and needing to get a race into her with some bigger fish to fry.
That's the thing, you got to get these races in them. You can train them and you can qualify them, but it's never going to be quite the same as a race. A race you burn a horse sometimes 3 or 4 times in a mile. sometimes when you're training or qualifier, you're really only burning them once, and they just don't get as much out of it. So I can see why they're doing what they're doing. I just kind of wish that she didn't have the outside to work with in here. You know, I'm just kind of more scared of, you know, a lot of people are probably going to come out of there, you know, wanting that golden opportunity to sit on her back and then beat her on the end of it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really sure what James is going to do here, but he's a really, really sharp cookie. He's got a lot of power to work with in here with this big girl. So I'm sure that he's going to be able to, you know, maneuver his way through here quite well.
You know, and a lot of times I'm the same. In a typical scenario with a good, talented 3-year-old taking on older rivals, you're concerned, and you're wondering how it's going to unfold, and you know, you're trying to weigh all the different factors, and you can sometimes say, you know what, maybe it's just going to be a tall order, and I'll pick against her. But we're talking maybe a generational talent here, which is you know, why I'm fully confident in her. You know, no matter how the season has gone to this point, and even though she's facing some great mares, I think she's the horse to beat. Clearly.
I would, if she gets beat in here, I think I would walk away a little bit disappointed. Not just that she got beat and she's undefeated, but I kind of agreement with you. I think that she's very special. You know, and even though that these are some really fine, hard-hitting, older kind of horses, and you know me a lot, it's a huge advantage to race an older horse in against a 3-year-old. It's a huge advantage, you know, but it depends who the 3-year-old is. You know, I sat out there on a cold winter's day at Greenwood and watched Niatros come up here at the end of his 3-year-old year, and that's the end of his 3-year-old year. He should have been tired, and he took on the best older horses at Greenwood, and it was 2 separate races. There was Niatros, and then there was everybody else. You know what I mean? And we honestly thought there that day that, hey, there's a chance that he could get beat because he was taking on all these great older horses, but it wasn't even close. You know, it was just 2 different horses, and I think that that's what we're going to see here. And the other thing is, too, we're talking about confidence. Every time James has had her name thrown at him, I mean, he changes. Because James isn't, like, he's kind of a humble kind of a guy, I find. You know, he doesn't do the boisterous. But when you bring up her name, he changes. Something about him changes. I think he knows that he's dealing with something that could potentially be the horse of his career. And he's going to have a vicious career.
Another consideration, she's in the middle of her 3-year-old season, 13 starts in, she's undefeated still. And, you know, there's a lot of incentive and want to keep that streak intact, right? So it really adds a whole other layer of intrigue. And, of course, we're all can't help but look ahead. You know, we think the matchup may occur next weekend or the weekend after at Pocono. Against Mickey and Minnie, the long-anticipated showdown there. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun tonight, but we're both in agreement. We think Chantilly is up to it tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just think that she's incredibly special, and I just hope that she keeps doing what she's doing, and I hope that everybody in the business, all of us, get behind her and, you know, realize that she can help us as an industry. Same as Some Beach Somewhere helped us, same as Cam Fella. You want to go back to there, helped us, you know what I mean? She can too. She's an undefeated filly, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping that as an industry, we can all get behind this and say, hey, let's go Chantilly. I know we're Canadians, and I know we're not supposed to say rah, rah, our own, but let's just, you know, maybe step away from Canada and just realize what it is that we're looking at here, and everybody get behind her. If she gets beat, she gets beat. But until she gets beat, let's all hope that she doesn't, you know, taste defeat.
Plus, we want to bring the song back.
Yes.
Chantilly
I want to hear
Lace,
Chad
one
sing.
of our favorite old songs. We want to hear Chad sing that, of course. The question I have for you, though, is will she be a single in your early pick 5 play?
Yeah, I wouldn't put anything. I will not play against her, Greg, until she gets beat. It's not going to be Randy Waples that, you know, puts the bad, you know, mojo out there, the bad jujubes toward Chantilly. She's going to be my top pick. So there's my early pick 5. You asked, she is singled in that pick 5. Ultimate Confidence. In race number 2, I'm also singling in that one too, though, and that is going to be
Sangria Summer.
Sangria Summer, Greg. And then, you know, went spread a little deep. in the 1 and the 4 and the 5. But in the middle, like I said, I look at her as a free square, and the other filly, I look at her as, pretty tough, going to be pretty tough in here tonight too, as long as they race her. I can't see Kevin Ben bringing her all the way down from Belleville unless he was looking to race her.
Fourth race is another of the OSS Grassroots divisions. You see it as wide open, 4 deep there. 4 deep in the final leg, too. That filly and mare conditioned pace looks like one of the best betting races of the night over in race 5. Kevin Plauscha takes a really different approach here. I like it. Just 2 chances in each leg. And not even using Chantilly. So talk about opposite end of the spectrum.
What's Rollis always say? If you want to take a stand and you believe that, the favorite isn't going to win, throw the favorite out.
Absolutely.
That's what he's,
right.
He says too, and that's his stand.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm going to keep.
That's right.
I'm going to stay quiet on it.
I agree with the approach, but I just don't agree that Chantilly's not going to win. So one of us is going to be right, one will be wrong.
That's right.
Tomorrow night, looking ahead to that, another great Saturday night card coming up, and part of that will include a mandatory payout in that Jackpot High Five final race on the card tomorrow evening. So looking forward to that. And we'll give you a quick look at the field for that one. Let's take a quick look ahead. Bulky field of 12 always changes up the dynamic for sure when you've got to 2 trailers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't use either of the trailers this time. Normally in these situations, I always try to throw one of the 2 trailers in, but I didn't do it this time. And the one that's highlighted right now, I got her in for second. So you'll have to stick around there to find out which one that I put up on top. But I can tell you it's not Lions Better Day.
Currently close to $250,000 in carryover amount coming into this evening. And again, tomorrow night it's going to be a mandatory payout in the Jackpot High Five. Tonight, out of town, just part of a busy weekend in North American racing circles, I should say. Tonight at Hoosier Park, it's the Grade 2 $300,000 Dan Patch Stakes. Some of the top older pacers in harness racing going to the post here. Some familiar faces to us here. Former Pepsi NA Cup winner Desperate Man's in the field. The likes of Coach Stefanos, Captain Luke in there as well. But Little Rocket Man, a horse that knows that circuit well. He's the favorite in post 2.
Yeah, he's looking good. But if I'm not mistaken, Desperate Man, is he only been beaten once this year? Or maybe just only missed the ticket
not
once
sure.
this year?
Yeah, he's had another rock solid
very
campaign.
rock
exactly.
solid year. And I mean, this is the first time that I've seen him go out to this race where he's on his form big time,
He's taken a little bit of a different path. He raced at Yonkers again through the Levy Series, and then I believe at Saratoga at their big race recently as well.
Was that the Milstein?
No.
What is that one called? Garrity? No.
The Garrity.
Garrity.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
We're getting old, Randy. We're having trouble remembering. But yeah, he's good on all size tracks, which is great. So it gives them a lot of options, and he'll be a big factor, I think, in there tonight. Great field of 11. Milstein, you mentioned that. I believe that's tomorrow night at Northfield. So we've got a lot to keep an eye on. Gold Cup and Saucer trials tomorrow night. A whole lot to look forward to, but we've got to get our attention back on tonight's card, Randy, and some of the horses to watch.
Well, I'm going to start this right off in the early parts of the racing, Greg. Race number 1 is going to be my Worth a Look, Bo Knight for McIntosh and James. Waples Watts, Sangria Summer for Kevin Van and Trevor Henry. That's coming around in race 2. Beat the favorite, Hot Country. I do not see him being the favorite. I know he's a Gallucci horse, and I know I got him up on top, but I think that there's some other horses here that might take that favorite status. And my all-in is going to be Sweet Love and Lou.
There's like a whole nice summertime country
like that,
song sort of theme
to
that.
You're right.
Yeah, I like it. Garnet Barnsdale, and he follows the racing so closely here, and I think he's maybe onto something here with Bob from hockey. He's his spot play. 9-2 in the morning line. Looks like a player in there. Doug Henwood, he's going price shopping there in the 4th. The deep crunch on 4th gear. 10-1 morning line prospect from the extreme outside post. And Ghislain Paquette, he's going to key up Something Blue, one that you focused on, and he obviously squarely in the corner of that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she looks logistic in there, but the problem is you're going to have to stick around to the 10th race to see if it was the correct call by Ghislaine.
So that puts the finishing touches on our pregame show here this evening. And with that, it looks like horses and drivers on their way to the track for the openers. We welcome everybody tuning in tonight, both on and off track. An excellent Friday night program straight ahead. We'll kick it off with the Ontario Sire Stakes Grassroots for rookie trotters.